This is a 90-ton rock. Geologically, it doesn't belong here. It belongs 500 miles northeast somewhere in Montana. There's no river that can move this, and humans definitely didn't bring it here. So how did it get here? And more importantly, how did this rock help create one of the most agriculturally productive regions on the planet? Unfortunately, the rock, well, it's just a rock and it doesn't have the answer to this story. But it does provide us with a very valuable clue. A clue that reveals an amazing geographic story. But to tell that story, we have to go about 80 miles northeast into the heart of the Columbia River Gorge. And we're gonna do that right now.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Alexa.
Together, we're exploring the history and geography of the world, one place at a time.
We have made it to the literal heart of the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. And if you didn't know exactly where this area was, right here where we're standing is Oregon, but across the Columbia River, which is where the gorge gets its name from, is Washington. But there's one very interesting geographic quirk about the Columbia River Gorge. If you look on the Washington side, it's gonna be a lot sunnier. And on the Oregon side of the gorge, it's a lot, well, not sunny. And that causes two things. One, there's a lot less vegetation on that side because it's a lot more arid, less water. Also means that because there's a lot less vegetation, there happens to be a lot more erosion and mudslides. And so the Washington side happens to be a little less dramatic, which you're gonna see a lot of the gorge later today. But for now, this is a really beautiful area. We're gonna take a walk down and see a little bit more of the gorge.
We are here in winter and it is so cold. I did not bring the right attire. We are on the sand right now along the Columbia Gorge and there is frost on the sand. Or you might say, there's snow on the beach. If you're a Swiftie, you know what I mean. It's a song.
It is very cold here in the Columbia River Gorge today, but in terms of weather, we lucked out. Blue sky, sunny, it's cold, but I mean, in the Pacific Northwest in January, this is very rare. Whew. Beautiful.
Now you might be wondering, what does a 90-ton rock have to do with the Columbia Gorge? Especially since it's like over 60 miles away. See, the indigenous oral histories from this area tell stories of the big river really washing away a lot of the world. Now, the Columbia Gorge is a big river, but what they were talking about was a much larger river than what we see here today. And we have some specific examples. So the Kalapuya people here in the Columbia Gorge tell stories of a big flood or Otswin in one of their key stories. But it's not just those types of oral histories, it's also in the names of a lot of the things in this area. See, the Sahaptin people have the indigenous name Lalik for Rattlesnake Mountain, and that stood for stands above water. But if you look up Rattlesnake Mountain, there's no water, which kind of gives us a bit of a clue that maybe at one point there was a whole lot of water there.
And just so we're super clear, Rattlesnake Mountain is actually about 100 miles north into Washington, the drier Scablands area of Washington state, not here on the Columbia River Gorge, because obviously there is a lot of water here.
Yeah. We would have loved to have made it out there, but just didn't fit in the timeline for today.
We've mentioned the Scablands, but what exactly are they? Located in southeast Washington, the channeled Scablands are a massive region defined by deep, dry channels and a total lack of soil. To the early settlers, the land looked scabbed or wounded. Interestingly, the very same power that carved the lush Columbia River Gorge also created this desert-like terrain, though the results couldn't look more different.
All right, my feet are freezing. Pro tip, don't wear Converse in 40-degree weather. I should have known better. But we're gonna warm up, we're gonna go get some coffee, some tea, and probably get in our car in just a minute to heat up a little bit.
Gotta stay warm. Gotta get that heartbeat pumping. Okay, so technically we're here in Hood River, Oregon, and we didn't technically need to come all the way out here to start the story, but if I'm being really honest, I love this town. You should certainly come here if you ever are visiting Oregon, because it is a very cute town.
It is so cute. Unfortunately, it's a little early, so a lot of things are closed. I would love to have gone to that bookstore.
But not coffee.
Yeah, thank goodness.
All right, Alexa's got her caffeine.
Got my matcha and a chocolate croissant.
Which means it's time for us to hit the road because it's a long day of filming and driving.
Woohoo!
So goodbye, Hood River. Up next, you'll find out.
Driving through the Columbia River Gorge is a bucket list experience. You're boxed in by dramatic landscapes, from sheer rock faces to lush, rain-soaked canopy. But while the cliffs are impressive, the waterfalls are the main event. We're about to pull off at one of the most legendary spots in the gorge to see that power up close.
And we've made it to our next spot, which is
Multnomah Falls.
it's gonna be very cool as we get closer to it. If you've never been to Oregon, this is easily one of the most traveled destinations within the entire state.
Yes.
Most people come to Multnomah Falls because it's the largest waterfall, certainly in Oregon, definitely one of the most accessible waterfalls too.
And it's not that far from Portland.
And if you happen to come here during winter, like we are, there's almost nobody here. If you come here during summer, you best have a permit because you ain't getting in otherwise. Now it's winter, but we're at a waterfall. I gotta test the water. I wanna see how cold it is.
Don't do it.
My guess is gonna be very, 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 very cold. Ooh! Ooh! Ooh, that stings. That's how cold it is. We didn't just take you guys here because this is a really pretty waterfall. It is a very pretty waterfall, but this actually does tie into our story at least a little bit. Because if you look next to the waterfall here, you see this sheer rock cliff face. That doesn't happen under normal circumstances. Most places have more varied topography, more crunchiness, for lack of a better word, which means that whatever moved our 90-ton boulder is also partially responsible for this. And it's definitely responsible for Multnomah Falls itself. It would not exist were it not for that same event, which is why I'm so thankful that it happened. But we'll get to that in a little bit. For now, I'm seeing a bridge up here that we can go up to, and that looks very picturesque. So I know I said that there's basically nobody here, but this is really incredible. There's like nobody here.
Yeah.
Like come in winter. Because not only do you get the place almost to yourself, but the waterfall is also so much bigger and grander in winter for the obvious reason. A lot more rain.
You have to have rain to have a waterfall.
There you go, yeah. I mean, in summer it's still there.
Sure. More rain, more waterfall.
Now, obviously you guys can't feel it, but the force of the water is literally causing sort of like a backdraft. So all this wind comes rushing at us. And that is just a lot of water coming down. It is just so incredible. And if you can imagine it, if you want to take the role of our 90-ton rock, at some point it was here, or at least near here, bouncing its way all the way to, well, the middle of the Willamette Valley. Kind of fun to think about. And up goes the hood.
Gotta protect the hair.
Gotta protect that pretty hair. All right, one last thing to mention. Since we're here, if you do come to Multnomah Falls, you can hike up to the top of it. It's only about a mile. It gives you a really good view. It's not as good of a view of the waterfall, obviously, because you're at the top of it. But if you really want to make a day of it, about 7 miles hike inland is Larch Mountain, and that's a stunning hike. Definitely got to do it.
Meanwhile.
Oh, man.
All right, well, we are actually getting blasted by water here, and there's more to show you in the gorge, so time to head back down to the car and get this train moving again.
Once again, Converse, not the right shoes here.
She should have known, it's the gorge. So it's actually a really good thing that we're going up because I don't know if you guys can tell, it's really foggy. Which also means I don't know what it's gonna look like when we do get up there. So good news is that we've beaten the fog at least a little bit. The bad news is that what we wanted to show, the Columbia River Gorge, which is right here, is still very much encased in fog. If you ever want to get a good view of the Columbia River Gorge, come to the Portland Women's Forum Scenic Point. It's one of the lesser known scenic points here, but don't come when it's foggy. I don't know what to tell you. We're gonna try and move up the gorge a little bit to another place called Vista Point, which is much more popular. See if we can find something else. There's just no accounting for weather on filming days, even when it appears at first glance to be a really nice weather day.
We made it to Vista House and we have a better view. You still see a lot of fog, but if you look over the fog, you can actually see the Columbia Gorge. So maybe it'll clear up over the next few minutes.
It's so thick. That's not gonna clear up in the next few minutes. But we can see, that's the point.
I promise the Columbia Gorge exists just over there.
Alexa, how would you describe the Columbia Gorge?
Super duper pretty.
Very pretty. Very dramatic,
Yes.
maybe? It's very dramatic. And what do you think created the Columbia River Gorge?
But I know.
I don't know that you do know. I'll give you a hint. It's right there in the name.
Columbia Gorge? I'm so confused right now.
The Columbia River created the Columbia River Gorge.
I did not see that one coming.
The point being is that, so like rivers around the world create very dramatic topography, right? The Columbia River created the Columbia River Gorge. The Colorado River in the American Southwest created the Grand Canyon. But there is something a little more unique about the Columbia River Gorge, because while the Columbia River definitely would have caused this sort of large indent, as rivers always do, the dramatic nature of it, which you can't really see right now, was caused by a little extra something. You don't just get the Columbia River Gorge with just the Columbia River.
That's the thing I know.
And that's the thing that you're not gonna find out here, because we need to go to one more place.
Bum bum bum.
So let's head to,
Rocky Butte.
let's say the city.
Oh,
So let's head to,
Portland.
right. Oh, and one more thing before we leave. So at Multnomah Falls, we envisioned ourselves as a rock bouncing along. And so again, if you want to imagine it, the rock sort of came all the way through the gorge here and kept on going down. I don't know if it ever made it to Vista Point itself, but it definitely came nearby it. And the rock's journey continues. We are in luck because as we were going through the gorge, the fog cleared up a little bit. Actually cleared up a lot of it.
Yeah, it's great here.
Portland, it's nice.
Let's see what the rock looks like though. We'll see if our luck continues.
This is really beautiful up here. You can see Mount St. Helens very clearly, Mount Hood very, very clearly. Easily a place you should come to in Portland if you ever visit, especially if it's a clear day.
Now you might be wondering, where is it in Portland where we can see the beautiful Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, the Columbia Gorge, and on this side, all of Portland? This is Rocky Butte, which is a really interesting place here in Portland. It's an extinct cinder cone butte, and it is one of the few volcanic features that you can still find here in Portland. So you got Powell Butte, you got Mount Tabor, and you have Rocky Butte. But here's the thing. There used to be a whole lot more of these volcanic features. Instead, what you see, and you can kind of tell right now, is Portland is pretty flat. And there is a very specific reason why that is the case.
What is it? Tell me.
But I'm gonna kick it over to Geoff.
Fine, don't tell me.
Okay, so we can't really hide it anymore. There's a very specific reason why the gorge looks the way it does, why all of Portland is so flat, and why, as we're gonna find out, this area is so agriculturally productive. And it comes down to one thing, the Missoula floods. Now imagine, back 10 to 15,000 years ago, there was a massive ice dam up in sort of like Montana, northern Washington area. And as the planet started to warm, that ice dam would break and water would come rushing out and it would flood the entire region all down through the gorge and then into here in Portland. At its height, water would reach about 1,000 feet higher than it is now. Here in Portland, probably about 400 feet. And this would happen again and again and again and again, about every 50 years. And every time it did, it would race through Washington, picking up sediment and soil and dirt, and it would race down through the Columbia Gorge, carving the massive cliffs that we see today. And then it would come here into the Willamette Valley and flood down through where the Willamette River is today and deposit all of that soil on the ground. And of course, the thing that it did that's most pertinent to our video today is that it carried huge, massive rocks and boulders and deposited them where they have no earthly reason to be. It's why Portland is so flat relative to places like Seattle or San Francisco, which also major West Coast cities, very much not flat. And it's why this area happens to be home to such a major city and just so agriculturally productive. All because of one prehistoric glacial event that, had it not happened in the exact way that it did, well, we probably wouldn't be here right now. And just like that, we're in wine country. Oregon wine country to be exact. Although, unfortunately, the fog did follow us here. We can't escape it today. So now that we know that the Missoula floods largely caused, well, everything that happened in the Willamette Valley, one of the big things is that it actually created one of the most agriculturally productive regions on the planet, which is why here, of all places, is one of the best wine regions of the country. Because as the ice dam that broke and caused the Missoula floods happened again and again about every 50 years, hundreds of times, it kept bringing all of this silt and soil and depositing it right here in the Willamette Valley, causing, well, a place where really good wine can be made. Unfortunately, we can't look out and see all the vineyards, but that's just been the story of the episode today. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it, but this soil right here, easily some of the most agriculturally productive soil on the planet. And it's all thanks to the Missoula floods and partially Washington State, because we kind of stole all their soil.
Oregon has a long history of winemaking. It dates back all the way to the 1840s, when the first grape came from Iowa as travelers were going through the Oregon Trail. Now, Oregon wine didn't necessarily get started right then and there, and it didn't bloom until the 1960s. Just like other parts of the country, the Prohibition era in the 1920s really put a damper on any, well, wine or liquor making. In the 1970s, this is when Oregon wine really started to become globally known. In 1979, Pinot Noir from Oregon actually won the Wine Olympics. If I were ever to compete in an Olympics, I think the Wine Olympics is the one I would want to be at. And now today, Oregon has so many wineries. The Willamette Valley is actually one of the fastest growing wine regions in all of the country. So we're really lucky that it's our backyard. All right, with that, I think I need a glass of wine.
Amazing wine tasting. Great to taste some Oregon wine.
Yep. Even got a souvenir.
She got us bottled wine.
Always.
But now we need to go to where it all began, the Rock.
We both talked about how the Missoula floods have benefited the Willamette Valley. and made Oregon wine what it is. I figured that our geography trivia for today should be all about Oregon wine.
I don't know anything about wine, but sure, why not? Why not?
Wine not. All right, we're gonna start off, I think, a little easy. What is the biggest winemaker in Oregon's Willamette Valley?
Willamette Valley Winery.
I'm gonna give it to you, it's Willamette Valley Vineyards.
Are you trying to upset me? I mean,
Yes, you're gonna give it to me.
All right, next question. Oregon ranks 4th in the country for wine production. What are the 3 states ahead of Oregon?
Well, California, obviously.
Yes,
I'm gonna say maybe Washington State,
yes.
New York State.
Oh my God, you got
Is
it.
it?
Yes, oh wow, okay. All right, I don't know if you're gonna get this one.
Bring it on.
All right, we know that Oregon loves wine, and we even have Oregon Wine Month. What month is that?
August?
No,
Oh.
it's May. We're in the Willamette Valley, as we've already talked about, specifically in the Willamette Valley AVA. What does AVA stand for?
Agriculture Valley Agency.
Not quite. What? So AVA stands for American Viticulture Areas, and you'll find them throughout the country. 2 out of 4, not bad.
It's the best I've done so far.
Good job, Geoff.
Thank you.
And that has been our geography trivia.
Now note, if you decide to come to the Rock, it is a little bit of a hike from the road. I imagine in summer, I mean, that's very pretty because this is all, again, we're still in wine country. And so obviously a lot of wineries around here.
It's the Rock! Wow! Cool! It's a rock.
This is the Rock. From the start of our video this morning, it's not really about the Rock. It's about the story the Rock tells. Alexa, not convinced. So I would say, Alexa, that this isn't just a rock, right?
Yeah, and that's because
Because it's a piece of like ancient history that has established this entire Willamette Valley region as being very livable, as being one of the most noticeable objects that tie us to the history of the Missoula floods. The fact that this rock exists here today in 2026, when it should be somewhere in Montana, I mean, that's kind of amazing.
totally. That's what I was gonna say.
She's very much not impressed with the rock. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning all about the Missoula floods and the Columbia River Gorge and basically how Portland exists the way it does in the Willamette Valley.
And why we have such amazing wine and fruits and vegetables here as well.
All that great stuff.
Next week, we are off to California, where we are camping on Santa Cruz Island, which is part of the Channel Islands National Park.
And there, we're going to perhaps discover why Santa Cruz Island is possibly the Galapagos of North America. Ooh. So as usual,
Come back next week.
for another adventure.
See you then. Now you might be wondering, what does a 90-pound, no, that's more than 90 pounds. All right, let's start over. It is an extinct, aliens. Aliens brought it here. Wow, it's a rock.
Didn't think I was gonna get the last one.
I mean, same.